The fluorescent lights in the hospital corridor buzzed like angry wasps, drilling into my skull with each hurried step. My sneakers squeaked against the linoleum, a sound I'd grown to hate over the past 6 months of working double shifts. The smell of antiseptic and something faintly metallic hung in the air, clinging to my scrubs, my hair, my skin. I couldn't escape it, just like I couldn't escape him. My phone vibrated again in my pocket. I didn't need to look. Marcus had already called 17 times today. 17. Each missed call was a promise, a threat wrapped in the memory of his voice. Smooth when he wanted something, jagged when he didn't get it. Emma, we need to talk about Lily. That's what his last voicemail said. As if he had any right to talk about our daughter. As if he hadn't disappeared for 3 years, leaving me to raise her alone in a 1-bedroom apartment with peeling wallpaper and a radiator that coughed more than it heated. I pushed through the staff room door, my hands trembling as I shoved my time card into the slot. 11:47 p.m. Another 16-hour shift done. My lower back screamed, my feet felt like they'd been beaten with hammers, and all I wanted was to get home, kiss Lily's sleeping forehead, and collapse into bed. Heading out, Emma? Nurse Patterson called from behind the desk, her reading glasses perched on her nose. Yeah, finally. I managed a smile that didn't reach my eyes. Get some rest, honey. You look like death warmed over. If only she knew how accurate that felt. I grabbed my coat from my locker, a thin thing that did nothing against the January cold, and headed for the elevators. The hospital at midnight was a different creature. Shadows stretched longer. The usual chaos of the day shift gave way to an eerie quiet, broken only by distant beeps of monitors and the occasional code blue announcement that made my heart jump every single time. The elevator dinged, and I jabbed the button repeatedly, a nervous habit I'd developed. Come on, come on. My phone buzzed again. I pulled it out. Marcus, I know you're getting off work. We need to talk. Tonight. My stomach twisted. How did he know my schedule? I'd blocked him on everything, changed my number twice. But Marcus had always been resourceful. That's what made him dangerous. Another text arrived before I could process the first. Marcus, I'm outside. Don't make this difficult. The elevator doors slid open with a soft chime, and I didn't think. I just moved. My feet carried me forward into the empty car, and I frantically pressed the button for the parking garage. The doors began to close, slowly, agonizingly slowly. Through the narrowing gap, I saw him. Marcus stood at the end of the hallway, his leather jacket catching the harsh lights. Even from this distance, I could see the set of his jaw, the way his hands clenched into fists. Our eyes met for a split second, and then he was running. Hold the elevator. His voice echoed down the corridor. My finger jabbed the close door button over and over. Close, 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 I whispered, my heart hammering against my ribs so hard I thought it might crack them. The doors were inches apart when his hand shot through the gap. I stumbled backward, my shoulders hitting the elevator wall, when I realized the hand that stopped the doors wasn't Marcus's. The doors slid back open. A man stood there, and everything about him was wrong for a hospital at midnight. His suit was so black it seemed to absorb light, tailored so precisely it must have cost more than 6 months of my rent. The fabric had a subtle sheen that whispered of Italian designers and private tailors. His shoes, polished to a mirror shine, probably cost more than my car. But it wasn't his clothes that made my breath catch. It was him. He was young, maybe 30, 32, with dark hair swept back from a face that belonged on magazine covers, not in county hospital elevators. Sharp jawline, olive skin, and eyes so dark they were almost black. Beautiful and terrifying in the same breath, like watching a storm roll in across the ocean. Behind him stood two men in matching dark suits, their builds suggesting they spent more time in gyms than boardrooms. One spoke into his wrist, murmuring something I couldn't catch. Security detail. The kind you didn't find in hospitals unless you were someone important, or someone dangerous. I apologize, the man said, his voice low and smooth, carrying an accent I couldn't quite place. Italian, maybe, or something close. His eyes swept over me with an intensity that made me feel exposed, even in my baggy scrubs. I didn't mean to startle you. It's fine, I managed, pressing myself further against the wall to give him space. My heart was still racing, but now for an entirely different reason. He stepped inside, bringing with him the scent of expensive cologne, something dark and woodsy with notes of leather and smoke. It cut through the hospital's antiseptic smell like a knife. His two men followed, taking positions on either side of the elevator doors. One of them pressed the button for the parking garage, the same floor I needed. The doors slid shut, sealing us in together. The elevator hummed as it began its descent. I kept my eyes fixed on the glowing numbers above the door, trying to ignore the way my pulse hammered in my throat, trying not to look at him. But I could feel him watching me. "Long shift?" he asked. I glanced at him briefly, caught off guard. His expression was unreadable, but there was something in his eyes. Curiosity, maybe. Or assessment. Like he was trying to figure out a puzzle. "Every shift is long," I said quietly, immediately regretting engaging. What was I thinking? The safest thing was to stay silent, get to my car, and get home to Lily. The corner of his mouth lifted, not quite a smile, but close. "I imagine so." He paused, then added, "You're a nurse?" "Yes." One word. Don't elaborate. Don't engage. "Noble work." His voice held genuine respect, which surprised me. My mother was a nurse. Before she... He stopped himself, something flickering across his face too quickly for me to read. The elevator jolted. I grabbed the railing, my knuckles going white. The lights flickered once, twice, and then the elevator shuddered to a complete stop. The gentle hum died. The emergency lights kicked on, bathing everything in a sickly red glow. "No," I whispered. "No, no, no." One of the guards immediately pulled out his phone, speaking rapid Italian into it. The other pressed the emergency call button. A crackling voice came through the speaker. "Elevator B is experiencing technical difficulties. Maintenance has been notified. Please remain calm." Remain calm. Right. Because I wasn't trapped in an elevator with three strange men. Because Marcus wasn't waiting for me outside. Because I didn't need to get home to my daughter. My breathing came faster. The walls seemed to press closer. I'd never been claustrophobic, but something about this moment, the red light, the confined space, the bizarre turn my night had taken, made my chest tighten. "Hey." His voice cut through my spiraling thoughts, gentle but commanding. "Look at me." I did, meeting those dark eyes. "You're safe," he said, as if that word meant something from his mouth, as if he could promise that. "My men will have this sorted quickly, 5 minutes, maybe less." "I need to get home," I heard myself say, hating how my voice cracked. "My daughter, she's with my neighbor, and I'm already late, and—" I stopped, realizing I was babbling to a complete stranger. What was wrong with me? But something shifted in his expression. His eyes softened almost imperceptibly. "How old?" "What?" "Your daughter. How old is she?" 3. The word came out automatically. I clutched my phone tighter, as if holding it could somehow transport me home. He nodded slowly, and I swore I saw something like pain flash across his face. 3 is a good age, still young enough to believe in magic. Before I could respond, before I could process that oddly gentle statement from this clearly dangerous man, his phone rang. Not the cheerful chime most people had, but a sharp single tone that cut through the red-lit space like a blade. He answered in Italian, his voice dropping into something harder, colder. The language flowed from him like music, but the melody was all sharp edges. He spoke briefly, his expression never changing, then ended the call. "Marco," he said to one of his guards, "check the external panel." The guard, Marco apparently, nodded and immediately began examining the elevator doors, looking for some kind of manual release. I watched this unfold with a growing sense of unreality. Who were these people? The suits, the immediate action, the way they moved with military precision. Nothing about this felt normal. My phone buzzed. I looked down at the screen. Marcus. "Where are you?" "Your car is still in the garage." Ice flooded my veins. He was here. In the parking garage. Waiting. "Problem?" The man's voice startled me. He was watching me again, and this time I couldn't hide my fear. It must have been written all over my face. "No, I'm fine." "You're a terrible liar." Not accusatory, just stating a fact. "Someone waiting for you down there?" I wanted to lie again, but what was the point? My ex, he's persistent. Persistent. He repeated the word like he was tasting it, finding it insufficient. "And you don't want to see him?" It wasn't a question, but I answered anyway. "No." Something dangerous flickered in his eyes. "Does he hurt you?" The directness of the question shocked me. I don't. "Does he hurt you?" Demanding truth. "He never hit me, if that's what you're asking. But I trailed off, unsure why I was even having this conversation. "He has my daughter's birth certificate, important documents. He's threatening to—" I stopped myself. This was insane. I was spilling my life story to a stranger in a broken elevator. "To what?" I shook my head. "Nothing. It doesn't matter." The elevator shuddered again, and Marco said something in Italian. The man, I still didn't know his name, responded with a clipped sentence that sounded like an order. Then he turned back to me. "When these doors open," he said quietly, "where is your car?" "Section B, near the stairwell." I didn't ask why he wanted to know. Part of me didn't want to know. He pulled out his phone and made a call. More Italian, but slower this time, deliberate. I caught only one word, repeated twice. Seguire. Follow. He ended the call and looked at me. Really, not the way Marcus looked, calculating, possessive. Not the way men at the hospital sometimes looked, assessing, interested. This was different, intense, like he was memorizing every detail. What's your name? He asked. Emma. It came out as barely a whisper. Emma. The way he said it, with that slight accent, made it sound like a different name entirely. Something softer. I'm going to make sure you get to your car safely. And your ex, Marcus was it, won't bother you tonight. How did you... I didn't say his name. You have it written on your phone screen. He gestured to my hand, where I still clutched the device. You should change his contact name to something less personal. Makes it easier to disconnect. Before I could respond, the elevator lurched back to life. The normal lights flickered on, replacing the red emergency glow. The car began moving again, descending to the parking garage. Emma, he said as the numbers counted down. When we exit, stay close to me. Don't look at him. Don't engage. Just walk to your car, understand? I nodded, not trusting my voice. Good girl, he murmured, and something about those two words sent an unexpected shiver down my spine. The elevator dinged. The doors slid open. The parking garage spread before us, concrete pillars casting long shadows, the smell of exhaust and cold air, the echo of distant traffic. And there, leaning against a support beam about 30 feet away, was Marcus. He pushed off the moment he saw me, his face splitting into that smile I used to think was charming. Before I knew better. Emma, there you are. I was worried. He stopped mid-sentence. His eyes had found the man beside me, and Marcus, who I'd never seen intimidated by anything, took an involuntary step backward. The air in the parking garage felt different now, charged, dangerous, like the moment before lightning strikes. I stood frozen between two men, caught in a tension so thick I could barely breathe through it. Marcus's smile had vanished. His eyes darted from me to the man beside me, then to the two guards who had positioned themselves with military precision. One had moved slightly ahead, creating a barrier. The other stood at an angle that blocked any approach from the side. Professional. Practiced. Emma, Marcus said, his voice careful now, stripped of its usual confidence. Who? Her escort, the man beside me said, his accent making the words sound almost elegant, almost polite. But there was nothing polite about the ice in his tone. And you are? Marcus's jaw tightened. I could see him calculating, trying to figure out who this stranger was, what authority he held. I'm her. We share a daughter. I need to speak with Emma. It's personal. No. The single word dropped like a stone. Excuse me? Marcus took a half step forward, and immediately both guards shifted. Subtle movements, but unmistakable in their message. The lady doesn't wish to speak with you. The man's voice remained calm, almost conversational, but something underneath it made my skin prickle. So you're going to walk away. Now. I should have said something. Should have told Marcus to leave, that I'd call him tomorrow, anything to defuse the situation. but words stuck in my throat as I watched something I'd never seen before. Marcus backing down. Look, man, I don't know who you think you are. I know exactly who I am. He took a single step forward, just one. But Marcus flinched. The question is whether you know when to walk away. The silence stretched. I could hear my own heartbeat, could smell the expensive cologne mixing with garage exhaust and Marcus's cheap body spray. Could feel the heat radiating from the man beside me, even though he stood perfectly still. Marcus's hands clenched into fists, then slowly relaxed. His eyes found mine, and I saw something there I'd never seen before. Fear, yes, but also fury at being dismissed, at being made small in front of me. "This isn't over, Emma," he said quietly. "Yes," the man beside me said, his voice dropping to something that made my stomach flip. "It is." Marcus held his gaze for another second, then turned and walked toward the exit. His footsteps echoed through the concrete space, each one feeling like a small victory. I watched until he disappeared through the stairwell door, half expecting him to turn back. He didn't. "Which car?" the man asked, his voice returning to that earlier gentleness. I pointed with a shaking hand toward my ancient Honda Civic, parked under a flickering light. The passenger side had a dent from where I'd scraped a pole last month. The paint was faded. Next to the sleek black Mercedes SUV parked a few spaces away, clearly his, my car looked like exactly what it was, the vehicle of someone barely scraping by. "Come." Not a command, an invitation, but one that didn't feel optional. We walked across the garage, his guards maintaining their positions, one ahead, one behind. The click of expensive shoes against concrete mixed with the squeak of my worn sneakers. I fumbled for my keys, my hands still trembling from the adrenaline. "Thank you," I managed as we reached my car. "You didn't have to." "Yes, I did." He studied my car for a moment, something unreadable crossing his face. "This is safe to drive?" "It runs." That wasn't my question. I bristled slightly. "It's what I can afford." He acknowledged that with a small nod, then did something that shocked me. He opened my driver's door, checking the back seat, the floor, underneath, his movements quick and efficient. Looking for what? Marcus hiding inside? Satisfied, he stepped back. "Your daughter. What's her name?" "Lily." The answer came automatically, though part of me screamed not to give this dangerous stranger any information about my child. "Lily." He repeated it softly, and again that strange pain flickered across his features. "A beautiful name." He pulled out his phone, typed something, then looked at me. "Your number." "What? No, I can't." "Not for what you're thinking." Something that might have been amusement touched his eyes. "You have an ex who knows your schedule, your workplace, where you park. Someone should know if he escalates. Give me your number, Emma." The way he said my name, with that slight roll of the R, the emphasis on the first syllable, did something to my insides that I absolutely could not afford to feel. "I don't even know your name," I said, a weak protest. "Dante." He offered it like a gift. Just the first name. No last name, no explanation. Dante. Of course his name was Dante. Probably had never met anyone named Marcus who wore cheap cologne and drove a rusted pickup truck. I really need to get home to my daughter. Then give me your number so I can ensure you arrive safely. There was a logic to it that I couldn't quite argue with, even though every instinct said this was a terrible idea. I rattled off my number. He typed it in, and seconds later, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Save this. Use it if you need anything. D. I won't need anything, I said, even as my thumb moved to save the contact. Some traitorous part of my brain labeled it simply Dante. Perhaps not. He stepped back, giving me space to get into my car. But if your ex returns, if he tries to contact you again, you call me. Immediately. Why would you? You don't even know me. Why would you care what happens to some random nurse you met in an elevator? For a long moment, he just looked at me. Then, my mother was a nurse. She worked herself to exhaustion caring for others, and when she needed help, no one was there. His voice had gone quiet, distant. I was 15, too young, too powerless to protect her from the man who should have loved her. I'm not powerless anymore. The raw honesty in those words hit me like a physical blow. Before I could respond, before I could even process what he'd just revealed, he had stepped back further. Drive safely, Emma. Kiss your daughter goodnight. I got into my car, started the engine, which coughed twice before turning over, and pulled out of the parking space. In my rearview mirror, I watched him standing there, his guards flanking him, all three watching until I turned the corner and lost sight of them. The drive home took 20 minutes through empty streets. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tight my knuckles ached. I kept checking my mirrors, half expecting to see Marcus's truck following me. But there was nothing. Just empty roads and streetlights, and the sound of my old engine struggling. Mrs. Chen answered her door before I could knock, her gray hair in curlers, her floral robe pulled tight against the cold. So sorry I'm late, I said, already reaching for my wallet to pay her. Nonsense. She waved me off like she always did, refusing payment even though I knew she needed it as much as I did. Lily's been asleep since 8, good as gold that one. I gathered my sleeping daughter from Mrs. Chen's couch, wrapping her in the blanket she refused to sleep without. She stirred slightly, her small hand fisting in my scrub top. "Mama?" she murmured, not quite awake. "I'm here, baby. I've got you." Our apartment was on the 3rd floor, and the elevator had been broken for 2 weeks. I carried Lily up the stairs, my exhausted muscles screaming with each step. Inside, I laid her in her bed, really just a mattress on the floor in the corner of my bedroom, because we couldn't afford a second bedroom. I changed out of my scrubs, washed the hospital smell from my skin as best I could with lukewarm water. The hot water heater had been acting up, and finally collapsed onto my own bed. My phone sat on the nightstand, Dante's message still glowing on the screen. I should delete it. Delete the number, forget this entire bizarre night, and never think about the dangerous man in the expensive suit again. Instead, I saved the contact. My alarm went off at 5:30 a.m., which felt like minutes after I'd closed my eyes. Lily was already awake, singing softly to her stuffed rabbit. She'd always been an early riser, happy and bright no matter how little sleep I got. "Morning, Mama!" She scrambled over to me, her dark curls wild around her face. She had Marcus's curls, but my green eyes, a fact that used to make him happy and now seemed to make him angrier. Morning sunshine. I pulled her close, breathing in the baby shampoo smell of her hair. This was why I worked double shifts, why I lived in this tiny apartment, why I fought so hard. For these moments. I got her ready for daycare, the subsidized kind that smelled like industrial cleaner and had too many kids per teacher but was all I could afford. Made breakfast from the last of our eggs and bread. Ignored the stack of bills on the counter that I couldn't look at without my chest tightening. Marcus called twice while I was getting Lily dressed. I ignored both calls. The third call came as I was buckling Lily into her car seat. What, Marcus? We need to talk, today. I'm taking Lily to daycare. I have another shift in an hour. Then after. I'm not playing games anymore, Emma. I want custody papers drawn up, 50-50 split. My hand tightened on the phone. You disappeared for 3 years. You don't get to show up and demand 50-50. I have rights. I'm her father. You've contributed nothing. No child support, no help, nothing. You have no idea what it costs to... That's about to change. I've got a new job, good money. I can provide for her now. Better than you can in that shithole apartment. Each word was a carefully placed knife. He knew exactly where to cut. Don't call me again, I said, my voice shaking. If you want to discuss custody, get a lawyer. Do it properly. You can't afford a lawyer, Emma. We both know that. So why don't we just work this out between us? I'll even let you keep her during the week. I just want weekends. No. No? His voice hardened. You don't get to just say no. I'll take you to court. I'll tell them about your work schedule, how you're never home, how you leave her with that old neighbor. I ended the call, my hands shaking so badly I nearly dropped the phone. Mama sad? Lily asked from her car seat, her little face worried. No, baby. I forced a smile, turned around to squeeze her foot. Mama's fine. Let's get you to school, okay? The daycare drop-off was rushed. I kissed Lily 3 times, promised to pick her up at 6, and watched her run inside without looking back. That resilience, that joy, she got that from me. Or maybe from who I used to be, before life ground me down. The hospital shift blurred into the usual chaos. Emergency admission, a code blue, 3 discharges, 2 angry families, 1 doctor who couldn't find his own ass with both hands and a map. I moved through it all on autopilot, my mind elsewhere, on Marcus's threats, on custody battles I couldn't afford to fight. On a man named Dante with dark eyes who'd promised protection I had no right to accept. My phone buzzed during my lunch break. 15 minutes scarfed down in the staff room with 3 other exhausted nurses. Dante, did you make it home safely last night? I stared at the message, my heart doing something complicated in my chest. He'd actually checked, actually cared enough to follow up. Me. Yes. Thank you again for your help. The response came immediately. Dante, has he contacted you again? I hesitated, my thumb hovering over the keyboard. This was none of his business. I didn't know him. Didn't know what he wanted or why he cared. Getting involved with someone like him, someone who radiated danger and power, was the last thing I needed. But Marcus's words echoed in my head, the threat of court, of losing Lily. Me. Yes, he's threatening custody. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Dante, where are you? Me. Work, St. Mary's
Another
Hospital.
shift.
Dante, when do you finish? Me, 7 p.m. Dante, I'll send a car. Me, that's not necessary. I can't accept. Dante, you can, and you will. Consider it repayment for elevator company. Despite everything, the stress, the fear, the exhaustion, I felt my lips curve into a small smile. Me, that was terrible company, broken elevator. Dante, then I owe you more than just a car. 7 p.m. Don't argue. I didn't argue. Maybe I should have. Maybe I should have recognized this for what it probably was. A wealthy man used to getting what he wanted, and I was just the latest curiosity. But when 7 o'clock came and I walked out into the cold night air, there was a black car waiting. Not the Mercedes SUV from last night, but a sleek sedan with tinted windows. The driver, one of the guards from the elevator, opened the back door. "Ms. Emma," he said with a slight nod. I got in because refusing felt impossible. The interior smelled like leather and that same expensive cologne, and sitting in the back seat, looking at his phone with an expression of intense concentration, was Dante. He looked up as I slid in, and something in his face softened. "Hello, Emma." "This is too much," I said immediately. I can't accept this. You're accepting a ride home, nothing more." He gestured to the driver, who pulled smoothly into traffic. "Unless you'd prefer I let you drive that car that barely runs through empty streets alone while your ex knows your schedule. How did you—" "I pay attention." He turned slightly in his seat to face me fully. "Tell me about the custody threat." "It's not your concern. I'm making it my concern. Tell me." And God help me, I did. Maybe it was exhaustion. Maybe it was the way he looked at me. Like I mattered. Like my problems weren't trivial. Maybe it was just the desperate need to tell someone, anyone, about the fear that had been building in my chest since Marcus reappeared. I told him everything. About Marcus leaving when Lily was 2 months old. About raising her alone, working doubles, surviving on crackers and coffee some days so she could have proper meals. About the documents Marcus had taken. Her birth certificate, social security card, my passport. About his threats to take her, to prove I was unfit. Dante listened without interrupting. His expression remained neutral, but I saw his jaw tighten with each detail. His hands, resting on his knee, slowly curled into fists. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. The car glided through traffic, the city lights painting shadows across his face. "These documents he has," Dante said finally. "You need them back." "I've tried. He won't. You'll have them by tomorrow evening." I laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. "You can't just— Marcus won't give them up. He's using them as leverage." Dante's eyes met mine, and something in them made my breath catch. "Emma," he said quietly, dangerously, "by tomorrow evening, you'll have every document, along with a signed statement from Marcus relinquishing all custody claims. I promise you this. How can you possibly— Do you trust me?" The question hung in the air between us. Trust him? I didn't even know him. Didn't know what he did, who he really was, what he wanted from me. But when I looked into those dark eyes, I found myself nodding. Yes, I whispered, shocking myself with the truth of it. His hand moved slowly, giving me time to pull away. His fingers brushed my cheek, just a whisper of contact, but it sent electricity racing through my entire body. "Then trust me to handle this," he murmured. "No one threatens to take your child. No one." The car pulled up in front of my building. Through the window, I could see Mrs. Chen's light on. She was watching Lily again, because daycare closed at 6, and I never made it home in time. "I should go," Dante said, pulling his hand back. "Get your daughter. Rest. I'll call you tomorrow." I got out of the car, then hesitated, leaning back down. "Why are you doing this? Really?" His eyes met mine, and for a moment, I saw past the careful control to something raw underneath. "Because someone should have protected my mother," he said softly. "And because when I look at you, I see someone who deserves better than what life has given her. Now go, before I do something we'll both regret." The door closed before I could respond. The car pulled away, leaving me standing on the sidewalk with my heart racing and my mind spinning with questions I wasn't sure I wanted answered. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Dante's face. The way his jaw had tightened when I told him about Marcus, the dangerous promise in his voice when he said he'd handle it. The gentle brush of his fingers against my cheek that had somehow branded itself into my skin. "By tomorrow evening, you'll have every document." How? The question circled my mind like a vulture. What kind of man could make promises like that with such absolute certainty? What kind of power did he have that made Marcus, who'd never back down from anything, retreat like a scolded dog? Lily stirred beside me, her small body curled against mine in our shared bed. She'd had a nightmare around midnight, something about monsters under the stairs, and I'd pulled her close, breathing in the strawberry scent of her hair until her breathing evened out. She was everything. My entire world compressed into 3 feet of wild curls and endless questions and laughter that sounded like wind chimes. The thought of Marcus taking her, even for weekends, made something violent and primal surge in my chest. My phone lit up on the nightstand. 3:47 a.m. Dante. "You're awake." Not a question, a statement. I stared at the message, my heart doing that complicated thing again. How did he know? Me. Can't sleep. How did you know I was awake? Dante. Because I am. And because you're worrying about tomorrow. Don't. Me. Easy for you to say. Dante. Nothing about this is easy, but it's necessary. Trust me. That word again. Trust. I barely knew him. Had spent maybe 30 minutes total in his presence. Yet something in me, some instinct I didn't understand, believed him. Me. Who are you? Really? The 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, Dante. Someone who keeps his promises. Me. That's all you need to know right now. That's not an answer. Dante. No, it's not. Get some sleep, Emma. Tomorrow will be difficult. The message felt final, like a door closing. I set my phone down, pulled Lily closer, and somehow, against all odds, drifted into restless sleep. Morning came too soon. The alarm's shrill beep at 5:30 felt like an assault. I dragged myself through the routine: wake Lily, breakfast, getting dressed, the drive to daycare through streets still dark with pre-dawn shadows. "Mama, why are you sad?" Lily asked from her car seat as I pulled into the daycare parking lot. "I'm not sad, baby. Just tired." "You're always tired." Not accusing, just observing, the way children do, cutting straight to truth. I turned to look at her, my 3-year-old daughter with her 2 wise eyes. "I know. I'm sorry." "It's okay, Mama. When I'm big, I'll work and you can rest." Something cracked in my chest. I unbuckled my seatbelt, twisted around to cup her small face in my hands. "You just worry about being a kid, okay? Let Mama worry about the rest." She nodded solemnly, then grinned. "Can we have pizza tonight?" "Maybe. We'll see." That means no. She'd figured out that particular adult code. "That means maybe," I corrected, kissing her forehead. "Now come on. Let's get you inside." The hospital shift dragged. Every minute felt like an hour. I kept checking my phone between patients, expecting, what? A message from Dante? News about Marcus? Some sign that last night had actually happened and wasn't just a fever dream born of exhaustion? Nothing came. By lunch, anxiety had twisted my stomach into knots. I couldn't eat, couldn't focus. Nurse Patterson pulled me aside after I nearly gave a patient the wrong medication, caught it just in time. But still. "Emma, honey, you need to go home." "I'm fine, just distracted." "You're more than distracted. You're a liability right now." Her voice was gentle but firm. "Whatever's going on in your personal life, you can't bring it here. Go home. We'll cover your shift." Shame burned through me. She was right. I was useless today. Worse than useless. Dangerous. "I'm sorry, Don't apologize. Just go. Take care of whatever needs taking care of." I gathered my things, changed out of my scrubs, and walked out into the afternoon sunlight. 3 o'clock. Too early to pick up Lily. Too late to do anything productive. I sat in my car in the parking lot, staring at my phone. It rang. Unknown number. My hand shook as I answered. "Hello?" "Emma." Dante's voice, smooth and dark. "Where are you?" "Hospital parking lot. They sent me home early. I couldn't focus." "Good. Stay there. I'm sending a car." "Dante, I can't just..." "Yes, you can. We need to talk. Face to face." A pause. "Please." That single word, please, undid me. I'd expected commands, demands. Not courtesy, not consideration. "Okay," I whispered. 10 minutes. He ended the call. I sat there, gripping my phone, trying to understand what I was doing. Getting into cars with strange men. Accepting help I couldn't repay. Letting someone I barely knew insert himself into my life, my problems, my daughter's future. But what choice did I have? Fight Marcus alone with no money for lawyers? Lose Lily because I couldn't prove I was fit? Watch my daughter spend weekends with a man who'd abandoned her, who saw her as a possession to claim rather than a person to love. The black sedan pulled up exactly 10 minutes later. Same driver, same neutral expression. The back door opened. "Ms. Emma." I got in. This time the car was empty except for me. No Dante. just leather seats and that cologne scent, and the quiet hum of expensive engineering. "Where are we going?" I asked the driver. "Mr. Dante's office. 20 minutes. His office. Of course, he had an office. Probably in some gleaming high-rise with marble floors and artwork that cost more than my yearly salary. But the car didn't head downtown toward the business district. Instead, it wound through older neighborhoods, areas I rarely visited. Historic buildings with ornate facades. Streets lined with trees that had seen decades pass. Old money. Real power. We pulled up in front of a 4-story brownstone that looked like it belonged in a movie. Ivy climbed the brick walls. The windows reflected the afternoon sun like mirrors. A discreet brass plaque beside the heavy wooden door read simply, "D. Salvatore, private." The driver opened my door. I stepped out onto the sidewalk, feeling desperately out of place in my jeans and hospital hoodie. This was a mistake. I should leave. The door opened. Not Dante, but Marco, the guard from the elevator. He nodded to me. "Ms. Emma, please come in." Inside was somehow even more intimidating. Hardwood floors gleamed under tasteful lighting. Original artwork lined the walls. Not prints, but actual paintings with visible brushstrokes. A staircase curved upward, its banister carved wood that looked antique. And sitting in the office to the right, behind a massive desk of dark wood, was Dante. He stood when he saw me, and I felt that same jolt I'd felt in the elevator. He'd removed his suit jacket. His white shirt was unbuttoned at the collar, sleeves rolled to his forearms. Somehow this slightly undone version of him was even more devastating than the perfectly polished one. "Emma." He came around the desk. "Thank you for coming." Did I have a choice? A slight smile touched his lips. "Always. You always have a choice with me." Marco closed the door behind me, leaving us alone. The office smelled like old books and leather and that cologne that was becoming dangerously familiar. "Sit, please." Dante gestured to a chair facing his desk. Not the imposing office chair on his side, but a comfortable armchair that looked like it cost more than my car. I sat. He leaned against his desk, arms crossed, studying me with that intensity that made my skin prickle. "I promised you documents," he said, "and a signed statement from Marcus." My heart jumped. "You already? How is that possible?" "I had a conversation with your ex this morning. A very productive conversation." "What kind of conversation?" "The kind where I explained that his best interests lay in cooperating." Dante's voice remained level, almost casual, but something underneath it made my stomach flip. He was reluctant at first, quite insistent about his rights as a father, but I can be very persuasive when necessary. Persuasive how? I needed to know. Needed to understand what I'd gotten myself into. Dante studied me for a long moment. Then he moved to his desk, pulled open a drawer, and retrieved a manila envelope. He held it out to me. "Look inside." My hands trembled as I took it. The envelope was thick, heavy. I opened it slowly, pulled out the contents. Lily's birth certificate, her social security card, my passport, all the documents Marcus had taken. And beneath them, a notarized statement, signed and dated today, in which Marcus James Crawford relinquished all parental rights and claims to Lily Rose Crawford, agreed to have no contact with either of us, acknowledged receiving no coercion or payment. I stared at the papers, unable to process what I was seeing. How? The word came out broken. He would never. He wanted custody. He was threatening court. How did you? I showed him that fighting would be considerably more expensive than conceding. Dante's voice remained neutral. I had my people dig into his background, recent activities, the new job he mentioned. It's with a shipping company, the kind that doesn't ask many questions about what's being shipped. Your ex has been helping move merchandise that customs would find very interesting. Ice flooded my veins. You're saying Marcus is a small-time criminal who thought he could intimidate a woman he'd already abandoned? Yes. Dante pushed off the desk, began pacing slowly. I presented him with evidence. I explained that this evidence could reach certain authorities, or it could disappear. His choice. You blackmailed him. I gave him options. He stopped pacing, turned to face me. He chose wisely. I should have been horrified. Should have run from this man who could casually ruin lives with a phone call and some dug-up dirt. Should have recognized the danger I was in. Instead, I felt something warm spreading through my chest. Relief. Gratitude. And underneath it, something darker that I didn't want to examine. I can't repay you for this, I said quietly. I don't want your money, Emma. Then what do you want? The question hung between us. Dante crossed the space slowly, deliberately, until he stood directly in front of my chair, close enough that I had to tilt my head back to meet his eyes. Dinner, he said. Tomorrow night. Let me take you to dinner. That's it? Just dinner? Just dinner. His voice dropped lower. And perhaps the pleasure of your company, of getting to know you. Of understanding why a woman who works herself to exhaustion for her daughter, who drives a car that barely runs, who lives in an apartment with broken heat, still manages to smile at strangers in elevators. I didn't smile at you. No, you looked terrified, then determined, then vulnerable. It was the most honest thing I'd seen in years. He reached out slowly, tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. Have dinner with me, Emma. Let me give you one evening where you don't have to worry about bills or custody, or whether your ex will show up at your work. Every rational part of my brain screamed, this was a terrible idea. I didn't know him. Didn't know what he really did. What kind of man blackmailed people as casually as ordering coffee. Didn't know what he wanted beyond dinner, what price would eventually come due. But I was so tired of fighting alone. So tired of being strong and responsible and never letting myself want anything. And God help me, I wanted this. Wanted him. Wanted one night where someone else was the strong one, where I could just be. Okay, I heard myself say. Dinner. Tomorrow night. Something flashed in his eyes. Triumph, yes, but also something softer. Relief, maybe. Like he'd genuinely worried I'd say no. I'll pick you up at 7. Wear something comfortable. Bring nothing but yourself. I have to pick up Lily at 6 from daycare. Already arranged. My people will collect her, bring her to a secure location with appropriate care. I stood abruptly, the papers falling from my lap. Absolutely not. You're not taking my daughter anywhere. I don't care what you did for me, you're not... Emma. His hands caught my shoulders, steady and warm. Breathe. Listen to what I'm actually saying. I was shaking, I realized. Trembling with sudden fear and fury at the idea of Lily going anywhere with strangers. Mrs. Chen, Dante said calmly. Your neighbor who watches Lily. I'll send a car for her too. She'll stay with Lily at your apartment. My people will provide security outside. Nothing more. Your daughter stays in her home, with someone she knows and trusts. I would never suggest otherwise. The logic slowly penetrated my panic. Mrs. Chen. My apartment. Security outside. Oh, I managed. Okay. That's... Okay. His thumbs stroked small circles on my shoulders, a gesture probably meant to comfort, but that instead sent heat racing through me. I would never do anything to frighten your child, he said quietly, or to make you doubt her safety. Children are... He stopped himself, that familiar pain flickering across his face. Children are sacred. They should be protected, cherished, never used as weapons or bargaining chips. What happened to your mother? The question escaped before I could stop it. His hands dropped. He stepped back, and I immediately missed his warmth. That's a story for another time. His voice had gone carefully neutral. For now, go home, rest. Spend the evening with your daughter. Tomorrow, let me give you something different. He walked me to the door. Marco materialized to escort me out. But before I left, Dante caught my hand. Emma. He waited until I looked at him. Thank you for trusting me, for giving me this. You're the one who helped me. I should be thanking you. You did, by saying yes. He lifted my hand, pressed his lips to my knuckles, a gesture so old-fashioned and unexpected that my breath caught. Tomorrow, I echoed. The ride back to my car felt surreal. I clutched the envelope of documents like a lifeline, proof that this had actually happened, that Marcus was gone, that Lily was safe. That tomorrow night, I had a date with the most dangerous man I'd ever met. I picked up Lily from daycare at 6. She ran to me like always, arms outstretched, face bright with joy. Mama, we painted today. I made you a picture. She thrust a piece of construction paper at me, stick figures in what I assumed was our apartment, with a sun that took up half the page. It's beautiful, baby. We'll hang it on the fridge. That night, I made us spaghetti with the last jar of sauce. We ate sitting on the floor because our tiny table had a broken leg I hadn't fixed yet. Lily chattered about her day, about juice boxes and playground politics, and how Tommy said girls couldn't be astronauts, but she told him he was wrong. You're absolutely right, I told her, twirling pasta on my fork. Girls can be anything they want. Even Mama? The innocent question hit harder than it should have. Even Mama. Then why are you always sad? I set down my fork. Pulled her into my lap, her small body fitting perfectly against mine. I'm not sad when I'm with you, I said truthfully. You're my favorite person in the whole world. More than Daddy? My chest tightened. We hadn't talked about Marcus much. She barely remembered him. "Your daddy. He can't be around right now, but that's okay. We've got each other, right?" She nodded against my chest. "And Mrs. Chen." "And Mrs. Chen," I agreed, smiling. After dinner, we played with her toys, second-hand things I'd picked up at thrift stores. But to Lily, they were treasures. Bath time, stories, tucking her into bed with her ratty rabbit. "Love you, Mama," she murmured, already half asleep. "Love you more, sunshine. Sweet dreams." I sat there in the dark, watching her breathe, and let myself feel everything I'd been holding back all day. Relief that Marcus was gone, gratitude for Dante's help, fear about what tomorrow might bring. And underneath it all, a dangerous flutter of anticipation. My phone buzzed. "Dante. Sleep well, Emma. Dream of tomorrow." I didn't respond, just held the phone, staring at those words until the screen went dark. Tomorrow. God help me, tomorrow. I spent the entire next day in a state of barely controlled panic. What did one wear to dinner with a man like Dante? My closet offered exactly 3 options: hospital scrubs, worn jeans, or the single black dress I'd bought for a hospital fundraiser 2 years ago and never wore again. The dress had a small stain near the hem that I'd never quite gotten out. It would have to do. Mrs. Chen arrived at 6:30, right on schedule, but not alone. A black car idled at the curb, and the driver, not Marco, someone new, handed her a gift bag before driving away. "What on earth?" Mrs. Chen peered into the bag, then laughed. "Oh my, your young man has good taste." Inside was a bottle of expensive wine, a box of Belgian chocolates, and an envelope containing 5 crisp $100 bills with a note in elegant handwriting. "For your time and care. Thank you for watching over what matters most." D. $500? Mrs. Chen's eyes went wide. "Emma, who is this man?" "Someone helping me with a situation." I couldn't quite meet her eyes. "It's complicated. Complicated rich, apparently." She tucked the money into her purse, but her expression remained concerned. "Be careful, dear. Men like that, men who have this kind of money, they don't do things without expecting something in return." "I know." My stomach twisted. "I'm being careful." But was I? Letting him blackmail my ex, accepting rides, agreeing to dinner? Was any of this careful? Or was I just so desperate for help, so exhausted from fighting alone, that I'd walked straight into a gilded cage without realizing it? Lily was already attached to Mrs. Chen's leg, begging for cookies. "Just one before bed," I warned. "2, Lily negotiated. 1.5. She considered this seriously, then nodded. "Deal." I kissed her forehead 3 times, our ritual. "Be good for Mrs. Chen." "Always am." She grinned, already dragging our neighbor toward the kitchen. I retreated to my bedroom, staring at the black dress laid out on my bed. The mirror on my closet door reflected someone I barely recognized. Pale, nervous, with dark circles under her eyes that no amount of concealer would hide. When had I last dressed up for someone? When had anyone last looked at me as something other than a tired mother or overworked nurse? The buzzer rang at exactly 7. My heart slammed against my ribs. "Emma, your gentleman is here," Mrs. Chen called, her voice carrying that knowing tone elderly women perfected over decades. I took one last look in the mirror, smoothed down the dress that suddenly felt too tight and too revealing all at once, and walked out. Dante stood in my tiny living room, and he looked obscenely out of place. His charcoal suit probably cost more than 6 months of my rent. His shoes gleamed. Everything about him screamed wealth, power, danger, and he was standing next to my sagging couch with its patches and my daughter's toys scattered across the worn carpet. But his eyes, when they found me, they made everything else disappear. "Emma." My name in his mouth sounded like prayer. He crossed the small space in 3 strides, stopped just close enough that I could smell that cologne, feel the heat radiating off him. "You look beautiful." "I look tired," I corrected automatically. "This dress has a stain." "I don't see any stain." His fingers brushed my arm, barely contact, but it sent electricity racing across my skin. "I see a woman who works herself to exhaustion for her child and somehow still manages to take my breath away." Heat flooded my cheeks. "You're good with words." "I'm honest with words." He stepped back, but his gaze remained locked on mine. "Are you ready?" "As ready as I'll ever be." Lily chose that moment to peek around the corner, her eyes going wide at the sight of Dante. "Mama, who's that?" My heart stopped. This was a mistake. Letting him into my home, my life, meeting my daughter. But Dante surprised me. He knelt down slowly, bringing himself to Lily's eye level. No looming, no intimidation, just gentle. "Hello," he said softly. "You must be Lily. Your mama has told me about you." Lily studied him with the serious intensity only 3-year-olds could manage. "You're fancy." A smile tugged at his lips, genuine, reaching his eyes. "A little bit, yes. Is that okay?" "I guess." She tilted her head. "Do you make Mama smile?" The question hit me like a physical blow, out of the mouths of babes. Dante's eyes flickered to mine, something vulnerable in them, before he looked back at Lily. "I'm certainly trying." "Okay, but if you make her cry, I'll be very mad." "That seems fair." He nodded solemnly, as if sealing a contract. "I promise to do my very best not to make your mama cry." Lily seemed satisfied with this. She darted back into the kitchen where Mrs. Chen was probably bribing her with cookies. Dante stood, and the look he gave me was complicated. Amused, touched, maybe something deeper I couldn't name. "She's fierce," he said quietly, "like her mother." "She's everything," I whispered back. "I know." He offered his arm, old-fashioned and courtly. "Shall we?" The car waiting outside was the same sleek sedan, but this time when I slid into the back seat, champagne sat chilling in a bucket. Real champagne, with condensation beating on the dark bottle. "This is too much," I said, as Dante settled beside me. "It's barely anything." He poured 2 glasses, the liquid gold catching the streetlights as we pulled away. "To new beginnings." I hesitated, then clinked my glass against his. The champagne tasted like stars and possibilities, things I'd almost forgotten existed. We drove through the city as dusk settled, painting everything in shades of orange and purple. Dante sat close enough that our knees occasionally brushed, sending little shocks through me each time. He asked questions about Lily, about nursing, about how I'd ended up in this city. I found myself talking. Actually talking. Not just the surface pleasantries I exchanged with coworkers or the truncated conversations I had with Mrs. Chen. I told him about growing up with parents who died in a car accident when I was 20, about meeting Marcus at a bar, thinking he was charming, getting pregnant accidentally but deciding to keep the baby, about him leaving, about the struggle to finish nursing school with an infant, about the years of barely surviving. He listened. Really listened, not just waiting for his turn to speak. His hand found mine at some point, fingers threading through mine like it was the most natural thing in the world. "You're stronger than you think," he said when I finished. "I'm not strong. I'm just stubborn. Too stubborn to quit. That's what strength is. Not the absence of fear or exhaustion, but continuing anyway." The car pulled up in front of a restaurant I'd seen featured in magazines, the kind with a year-long waiting list and prix-fixe menus that cost what I made in a week. No neon sign, just a discreet plaque beside an elegant door. "Dante, I can't. This is. You can." He helped me out of the car, his hand warm at the small of my back. "Tonight, you let me take care of everything. No worrying about prices or appropriateness. Just be. Can you do that?" I wanted to argue. Wanted to maintain some independence, some pride. But the warmth in his eyes, the gentle pressure of his hand, the promise of one evening where I didn't have to be strong, it undid me. "Okay," I breathed. "Okay." Inside, the maitre d' greeted Dante by name. We were escorted to a private corner table, tucked away from other diners. Candlelight flickered across white linens. Real flowers, orchids, I think, sat in a crystal vase. Through the window, the city sparkled like a jewel box. "Do you bring all your projects here?" I asked, once we were seated. His eyebrow arched. "Projects? Women you help, damsels in distress, whatever I am to you." "You're not a project, Emma." He leaned forward, his eyes intense in the candlelight. "And you're the first woman I've brought here, the first woman I've wanted to bring anywhere in a very long time." "Why?" The question burst out. "Why me? You could have anyone." Someone who fits into your world, who knows which fork to use, who doesn't show up in a stained dress from a thrift store. That dress isn't stained. His hand covered mine across the table. And I don't want someone from my world. My world is full of lies and games and people who smile with knives behind their backs. You're real, honest. You look at me and see a man, not a bank account or a connection or a means to an end. "I don't even know what you do," I pointed out. "Import-export." He said it smoothly, practiced. "Among other ventures." That's not an answer. No, it's not. He didn't look away. "I do things that exist in gray areas, things that keep me awake at night sometimes, things I justify by telling myself I operate by a code, that I protect what's mine, that I'm better than the animals I deal with. But at the end of the day, I'm not a good man, Emma. I want you to understand that. You helped me. You protected my daughter. That sounds pretty good to me." I blackmailed a man, threatened to destroy his life, had people dig through his private business, would have done worse if necessary. His thumb stroked the back of my hand, the gesture at odds with his words. I'm possessive, controlling. When I want something, I take it. When someone threatens what's mine, I eliminate the threat. These aren't good qualities. And what am I? My voice came out barely above a whisper. Something you want? Something that's yours? His eyes darkened. Yes. And the single word sent heat flooding through me. I should have been scared, should have run. But instead, I felt something dangerous unfurl in my chest. Want, need, the dark thrill of being claimed by someone who looked at me like I was precious. I barely know you, I managed. Then let me tell you. He settled back, but didn't release my hand. My name is Dante Salvatore. I'm 32. I was born in Naples, but came here when I was 15, after my mother died. I took over my father's business, the legitimate and the less legitimate parts. I have no siblings, no wife, no girlfriend, no children. I own 17 properties, employ 200 people, and have enough money that I could retire tomorrow and live comfortably for several lifetimes. He paused as the waiter appeared with wine, something red and presumably expensive. Once we were alone again, he continued. I'm also lonely, surrounded by people but lonely in the ways that matter. I haven't let anyone close in years, haven't wanted to. And then I saw you in that elevator, exhausted, scared, running from a man who should have protected you. And something in me recognized something in you. What? I breathed. Survival. The will to keep going even when everything says to quit. My mother had that. She worked herself to death caring for others while my father... His jaw tightened. While my father took and gave nothing back. He hit her, controlled her, made her small. I was too young, too weak to stop him. My heart cracked. Dante, when I saw Marcus, saw that fear in your eyes, I saw my mother, and I swore I would never let another woman suffer like that if I had the power to stop it. His eyes met mine, fierce and vulnerable. So yes, I want you. Yes, you're already mine in my head, in my heart. But I'll never cage you, Emma. Never make you small. I'll give you everything. Ask for nothing but your honesty and your presence. No strings. No obligations. I don't believe that, I said softly. Everyone wants something. Then I want this. He raised my hand to his lips, pressed a kiss to my palm that made my breath catch. Your company, your smile, the privilege of making your life easier, of giving you things you deserve, security, comfort, moments of joy. Is that so terrible? It sounds too good to be true. Then let me prove it's real. The food arrived, course after course of things I couldn't pronounce but that melted on my tongue. We talked between bites, and I found myself relaxing despite everything. He told me about growing up in Naples, about the smell of the sea and his mother's laughter and the violence that eventually drove them here. I told him about nursing school, about Lily's first word, Mama, of course, about the small joys I found in my exhausted life. By dessert, something chocolate and sinful, I'd finished 2 glasses of wine and felt warm, loose, almost happy. I should check on Lily, I said, pulling out my phone. Already done. He showed me his phone. A text from Mrs. Chen with a photo of Lily asleep in her bed, Rabbit clutched tight. I had my people check in. All is well. Your people. I shook my head, smiling. You have people. I have people, he agreed, amused. And now they're your people too. Whatever you need, rides, security, someone to fix that broken table leg, just call. I can't accept. Yes, you can. He leaned forward. Emma, let me be very clear. I want to take care of you, not because I think you can't take care of yourself, but because you shouldn't have to. Not alone. Not anymore. Tears pricked my eyes. Exhaustion, whine. The overwhelming relief of someone actually seeing how hard I'd been fighting. Hey. He reached across, brushed away a tear with his thumb. Not
No
tonight.
crying.
These are good tears, I managed. Still tears. And I promised your daughter I wouldn't make you cry. That startled a laugh out of me. She's 3. She doesn't understand context. She understands what matters. His hand cupped my cheek, thumb stroking softly. Emma, I need to tell you something. And I need you to really hear me. My heart kicked into a higher gear. Okay. From the moment you stepped into that elevator, you've been under my protection. That's not a request or a negotiation. It's a fact. Anyone who threatens you, who tries to hurt you or take your daughter, they'll answer to me. And trust me when I say no one wants that. That's... I searched for words. Intense. I'm an intense man, especially about things I care about. His thumb traced my lower lip, sending sparks through my entire body. Do you understand what I'm saying? That you're possessive and controlling, like you warned me? But my voice came out breathy, not accusatory. Yes, and that you're mine now, whether you're ready to admit it or not. I should have protested, should have maintained some independence, some boundaries. But sitting there in candlelight with his hand on my face and his eyes burning into mine, all I could think was, yes. God, yes. What if I'm not ready for that? I whispered. Then I'll wait. His voice dropped lower, intimate. I'll wait as long as you need, but make no mistake, Emma. I'm not going anywhere. You're in my blood now, under my skin, and I protect what's mine. The ride home was quiet, charged. His hand stayed in mine, his thumb drawing patterns on my palm that made thinking difficult. When we pulled up to my building, he walked me to my door. Mrs. Chen was asleep on my couch, soft snores coming from her small frame. Dante pulled out his phone, and within minutes one of his people arrived to drive her home. Payment for the evening, he explained quietly. Once she was gone, we stood in my doorway, just us and the sleeping child down the hall and the weight of everything unsaid. Thank you, I managed, for tonight, for everything. Emma. He stepped closer, backing me gently against the doorframe. Can I kiss you? My breath caught. Yes. His lips met mine slowly, carefully, like I was something precious that might break. But I didn't break. I melted. His hands cupped my face, his body pressed close, and the kiss deepened into something that made my knees weak. When he finally pulled back, we were both breathing hard. I should go, he murmured against my lips, before I forget how to be a gentleman. What if I don't want a gentleman? His eyes flared dark. Don't tempt me. Not when your daughter is sleeping 15 feet away. He was right. Of course he was right. But God, I wanted to be reckless. Wanted to pull him inside and forget about being responsible and careful. Tomorrow, he said, pressing one more soft kiss to my lips. Dinner again. And the day after. And the day after that. Until you stop looking surprised that I keep showing up. Dante, say yes. Yes, I breathed, helpless against the pull of him. He smiled. A real smile, warm and genuine. Now lock this door behind me, and text me when you're in bed so I know you're safe. He left before I could respond. I locked the door, checked on Lily, still sleeping peacefully, and collapsed onto my bed. My phone buzzed. Dante. Already missing you. Tomorrow can't come soon enough. I stared at the message, my heart doing complicated things in my chest. This was dangerous, reckless, everything I shouldn't want. Me. I'm in bed, safe. Thank you for tonight. Dante. The first
Sleep
of
well,
many.
Emma.
Dream of me. I did. God help me, I did. The next 3 weeks felt like living in a dream I was terrified to wake from. Dante kept his word. Dinner the next night, and the night after that, and after that. Sometimes at expensive restaurants where waiters knew his name. Sometimes at small hidden places he claimed served the best food in the city. Once he brought Italian takeout to my apartment, and we ate on the floor with Lily between us, her chattering about dinosaurs filling the comfortable silence. He never pushed, never demanded more than I was willing to give. But his presence became constant. A driver waiting to take me to work, security I never saw but somehow knew was there, groceries appearing in my fridge that I hadn't ordered but desperately needed. You have to stop, I told him one evening, as we walked through a park, Lily running ahead to chase pigeons. The gifts, the help, it's too much. It's not nearly enough. His hand found mine, fingers threading through like they belonged there. Let me do this, Emma. Let me take care of you. I can take care of myself. I know you can. That's not the point. He stopped walking, turned to face me. The point is, you shouldn't have to. Not alone. Not anymore. That had become his refrain. Not alone. Not anymore. And God help me. I was starting to believe it. But reality had a way of crashing through even the most beautiful dreams. It happened on a Tuesday. I was finishing my shift, exhausted but in a good way, thinking about the dinner Dante had promised. Something about wanting to cook for me himself. My phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Emma Crawford? A woman's voice, crisp and professional. Speaking. This is Detective Sarah Martinez with the Metropolitan Police. I need to ask you some questions about Dante Salvatore. Ice flooded my veins. What? We understand you've been seeing Mr. Salvatore socially. We'd like to speak with you about his activities. Would you be willing to come down to the station? Am I in trouble? No, ma'am. We're simply gathering information. But your cooperation would be appreciated. I hung up, my hands shaking. Stared at my phone like it had transformed into a snake. Police. Questions about Dante. Activities. Import-export, he'd said. Gray areas. Not a good man. What had I gotten myself into? What had I exposed Lily to? My phone rang again. This time, Dante's name flashed on screen. Emma. His voice, smooth and dark. Where are you? Hospital, finishing shift. Dante, the police just called. I know. Don't speak to them. Not a request, an order. Don't say anything, don't go anywhere. I'm sending a car. 5 minutes. What's happening? What did you do? Nothing you need to worry about. Trust me. That's not an answer. Silence. Then quieter. I'm handling it. Just trust me. Please. The car arrived in 4 minutes. Marco drove in silence while I sat in the back, anxiety twisting my stomach into knots. We didn't go to Dante's office or my apartment. Instead, we pulled up to a high-rise downtown, one of those buildings that screamed money and power. Dante waited in the lobby, and the moment I saw him, I knew something was wrong. His jaw was tight, his shoulders tense. 2 men in expensive suits flanked him. Lawyers, I realized, not guards. Emma. He caught my hands, his grip almost painful. I need you to listen very carefully. Tell me what's happening. There's an investigation, federal. They've been building a case against certain business associates of mine. People who deal in things far more illegal than what I do. But the investigation is broad. They're looking at everyone connected. I couldn't finish the sentence. You're not implicated. You've done nothing wrong, but they'll try to use you to get to me. They'll ask questions, imply things, try to scare you into cooperating. His hands moved to cup my face. I need you to not speak to them without legal representation. These men, he gestured to the suits beside him, will handle everything. Dante, what exactly do you do? The truth. I need the truth. His eyes held mine, and I saw conflict there. Pain, then resignation. I run a shipping operation. Legitimate goods, mostly. But some of my clients, past clients, weren't asking questions about where certain merchandise came from. Stolen art sometimes. Goods that bypassed customs. I stopped taking those jobs 2 years ago, went completely legitimate. But the past has a way of catching up. So you're a criminal. I was. In some people's eyes, I still am. But I've never dealt in drugs, never in weapons, never in anything that could hurt innocent people. And I've spent the last 2 years trying to build something clean, something I wouldn't be ashamed of. I pulled away from his touch, wrapped my arms around myself. You should have told me. Before we... Would you have given me a chance if I had? His voice cracked slightly. Would you have let me help you, take you to dinner, into your life? Or would you have run? I don't know. Honest. Brutal. But I deserved the choice. You're right. He stepped back, hands falling to his sides. You deserved honesty. I was selfish. I wanted... He stopped, shook his head. It doesn't matter what I wanted. What matters is keeping you safe. Safe from what? From you? From your world? From the investigation? From people who might think you know something valuable? From anyone who might use you or Lily to get to me? His voice had gone hard, cold, the voice he probably used in business. That's why you need legal representation. Why you need protection. I don't want protection from strangers. I want the truth from you. My voice broke. Did you use me? Was this all just... what? Amusement? A distraction? No. The single word came out fierce. Emma, no. Everything I told you was true. Everything I feel. He stopped himself, jaw working. You weren't a game. You were the first real thing I'd felt in years. Were? The past tense hit like a slap. Are. He closed the distance between us again, desperate now. Are. Present tense. But I won't
Always.
ask you to stay in this mess. Won't ask you to risk anything for me. If you want to walk away, I'll make sure you're protected. Make sure no one bothers you. I'll disappear from your life like I was never there. The offer hung between us. An escape. A return to my safe, exhausting, lonely existence. No police investigations, no dangerous men with dark pasts. Just me and Lily and the struggle I knew how to navigate. But also no Dante. No more dinners where I laughed until my stomach hurt. No more feeling seen, valued, protected. No more falling asleep thinking about dark eyes and gentle hands and a man who looked at me like I was precious. I need time, I whispered. To think, to figure out what this means. Pain flickered across his face, but he nodded. How much time? I don't know. A few days? A week? Take whatever you need. He pulled out his phone, typed something. But take this. He handed me a card, heavy stock, embossed lettering, a name and number. Robert Chen, best defense attorney in the city. If the police contact you again, you call him immediately. He'll handle everything, already paid for. Dante, not negotiable. Steel in his voice. Your protection isn't something I'll compromise on, ever. Marco drove me home in silence. I collected Lily from daycare, made dinner on autopilot, went through bedtime routines while my mind spun in circles. That night, alone in the dark, I let myself cry. For the dream that was crumbling, for the fear that had replaced warmth, for the impossible choice between safety and something that felt dangerously like love. My phone buzzed. Dante, I know you need space. I'm giving it to you. But know this. Whatever you decide, I'll respect it. If you choose to walk away, I'll let you go. But if you choose to stay, if you choose me, choose us, I'll spend the rest of my life proving I'm worth that choice. You and Lily will never want for anything, never fear anything. I'll build a kingdom and lay it at your feet if that's what it takes. Just think about it. Please. I read the message 3 times. 4. Until the words blurred through tears. The next few days passed in a haze. I went to work, came home, took care of Lily. No police showed up. No calls came. But Dante's absence was a physical ache, a hole in my chest where warmth used to be. Mrs. Chen noticed. Of course she did. Your young man, she said one evening, watching me pick at dinner while Lily colored. You sent him away? It's complicated. Love usually is. She patted my hand with her wrinkled one. But complicated doesn't mean wrong. My husband, may he rest, he was complicated too. Difficult family, questionable business. Everyone said I shouldn't marry him. But he loved me. Fiercely. Protected me. Gave me 50 years of happiness before he died. Sometimes complicated men make the best husbands. He's not my husband. Not yet? She smiled knowingly. But he could be, if you're brave enough. Brave enough. Was I? On the 5th day, I made my decision. I called the number on the card, Robert Chen, attorney. He answered on the 2nd ring. Ms. Crawford, I've been expecting your call. Did the police? Dropped the inquiry into you entirely. You're clear. No charges, no suspicion. Mr. Salvatore made sure of that. Relief flooded through me. How? That's privileged information. But you have nothing to worry about. A pause. Is there anything else I can help you with? Actually, yes. I need to know. The investigation into Dante. How serious is it? Also privileged. But I can tell you that Mr. Salvatore has cooperated fully, provided evidence against genuinely dangerous people in exchange for immunity. The investigation into his own activities is concluding favorably. He'll likely face fines, some restructuring of business operations. But no charges, no prison time. So he's safe? As safe as anyone in his position can be. He's made powerful enemies helping the feds, but he's also made powerful friends. He'll be fine, especially now that he's cleaned up his operations entirely. Another pause. He cares about you, Miss Crawford. I've known Dante Salvatore for 5 years. Never seen him risk everything the way he has for you. Risk everything. The people he testified against? They're not forgiving. He's made himself a target to keep you safe. To make sure you were never touched by any of this. Think about that. The call ended. I sat there, phone in hand, thoughts racing. He'd protected me. Even while I was pulling away, even knowing I might leave, he'd protected me. Risked himself to keep me safe. I called him. He answered before the first ring finished. Emma. My name and his voice, desperate and hopeful and terrified. I'm not walking away, I said. No preamble, no lead-up. I'm not brave enough to walk away from you. Silence. Then, Emma, I'm scared. I'm terrified, actually, of your world, of what being with you means. But I'm more terrified of going back to life without you, of wondering what if, of teaching my daughter that love isn't worth fighting for. I'll make this right. His voice was thick with emotion. I swear to you, I'll make this right. Just love me. The words tumbled out. Love me and Lily. Be the man you were these past weeks. That's all I need. Always. The word was a vow. Come to me. Now. Please. I need to see you. Touch you. Make sure you're real. I have Lily. Bring her. Bring Mrs. Chen if you want. Bring everyone. Just come. Please, Emma. I did. Gathered my daughter, called Mrs. Chen, and within 30 minutes we were in that sleek car heading to Dante's brownstone. Marco drove without comment, though I caught his small smile in the rearview mirror. Dante was waiting on the steps when we arrived. He looked wrecked, hair disheveled, shirt untucked, shadows under his eyes, like he hadn't slept in days. The moment I stepped out of the car, he was there. His arms wrapped around me, crushing me against his chest, his face buried in my hair. I thought I lost you, he murmured. Thought I'd destroyed the best thing that ever happened to me. You almost did. I pulled back enough to see his face, but then I realized something. You're not perfect. Your past is messy. Your world is dangerous. But you're also the first person in years who's made me feel like I matter, like I'm worth protecting, worth cherishing. I can't walk away from that. You matter more than anything. His hands cupped my face, thumbs brushing away tears I hadn't realized were falling. You and Lily, you're everything. My family, my future, my reason for becoming better. Mama, Lily's voice cut through the moment. Is this his house? It's big. Dante laughed, a real, genuine sound of joy. He released me, turned to Lily with that gentle expression he reserved for her. It is big. Want to see inside? I have a garden, with real flowers, and a cat who visits sometimes. Her eyes went wide. A cat? Sometimes. If we're lucky, she'll visit today. I watched him take Lily's hand, lead her up the steps, and something in my chest settled. This was right. Mrs. Chen patted my arm. Complicated, she said, smiling, but worth it. Yeah, I agreed, following them inside. The next few months were a adjustment. Dante's world was nothing like mine. All security details and business meetings and people who looked at me with barely concealed curiosity. But he was patient. Introduced me slowly. Protected me from the sharks while teaching me how to navigate the waters. He bought a house, smaller than his brownstone, in a neighborhood with good schools and parks. Put it in my name. Filled it with furniture that Lily helped pick out, and security that stayed invisible but present. I don't need a house, I'd protested. But Lily does. A real home. A yard to play in. Her own room. Let me give her that. Let me give you that. I couldn't argue. Not when my daughter's face lit up at the sight of her princess bedroom. Not when I had a kitchen that actually had counter space. Not when I could sleep without worrying about the radiator or the broken lock, or whether Marcus might show up. Marcus. I never heard from him again. Whatever Dante had done, whatever he'd threatened, it had worked. My ex vanished like smoke, and the relief was dizzying. Work changed too. Dante wanted me to quit, offered to support us completely, but I refused. Nursing was part of who I was, so we compromised. I cut back to 3 shifts a week, spent more time with Lily. Started actually sleeping, actually eating properly, actually living instead of just surviving. And Dante, he was there, every day. Sometimes just for dinner, sometimes for whole weekends where we'd play with Lily in the park or cook together or simply exist in comfortable silence. He never pushed for more than I was ready to give, but the wanting was there, simmering between us, building with each touch and stolen kiss. 6 months after that first elevator ride, he proposed. Not with fanfare or public spectacle. Just the 3 of us in our backyard, the one he'd bought, watching Lily chase fireflies in the dusk. "Marry me," he said quietly, his hand finding mine. I turned to him, found him watching me with those dark eyes that had haunted my dreams since the beginning. Why? Because I love you. Because Lily deserves a father who will never leave. Because I want to spend every day for the rest of my life proving I'm worthy of you. Because when I picture my future, you're the only thing I see. We've only known each other 6 months. I knew after 6 minutes. His thumb stroked my palm. In that elevator, when you looked at me with fear and determination all mixed together, I knew. You were it for me. Everything else has just been confirming what I already knew. Your world is changing. I'm out of everything questionable. Legitimate business only. Clean. Safe. I did that for you. For Lily. So I could be a man you'd be proud to call your husband. I'm already proud of you. True. Somehow. Impossibly true. You're nothing like the man I thought you were in that elevator. What did you think I was? Dangerous. Untouchable. Someone who lived in a world I couldn't understand. And now? You're still dangerous? I smiled. Still a little untouchable. But you're also the man who brings Lily flowers every Sunday, who learned to braid hair from YouTube videos. Who holds me when I have nightmares about losing her. Who makes me laugh and feel safe and believe in things I thought were only in fairy tales. Is that a yes? That's a yes. I pulled his face down to mine, kissed him soft and slow. On one condition. Anything. You teach me about your world. No more secrets. No more protecting me from knowledge I should have. We're partners, equals, even if your world scares me sometimes. Deal. He kissed me again, deeper this time. Partners, equals. Always. Mama, Dante! Lily's voice interrupted us. She ran over, fireflies forgotten, her face bright with excitement. I caught one. I caught a firefly. She opened her cupped hand slightly, revealing the gentle pulse of light within. Beautiful, Dante said, but he was looking at me, not the firefly. Make a wish, Piccola. What should I wish for? Lily asked. Whatever your heart wants most. She closed her eyes, concentrating hard. Then opened her hands, letting the firefly drift upward into the darkening sky. What did you wish? I asked. That we could stay together forever. She looked between us. All three of us. Is that okay? Dante knelt down, pulled her into a hug. That's more than okay. That's perfect. I watched them, my daughter, and the man who'd become her father in every way that mattered, and felt something settle in my chest. This was it. This was home. We married 3 months later. Small ceremony. Just us and Mrs. Chen, and a few of Dante's people who'd become friends. Lily was flower girl, taking her job with utmost seriousness. She wore a white dress and scattered petals like she was blessing the ground we walked on. Dante cried when he saw me in my dress, simple white, nothing elaborate, but enough. His vows were in Italian first, then English, promises of protection, love, partnership, of building a life together. Of being the father Lily deserved and the husband I needed. My vows were simpler. I choose you, every day, in every way. Not because you're perfect, but because you're perfectly mine. When he kissed me, Lily cheered, Mrs. Chen cried, and I felt complete in a way I'd never known was possible. Life wasn't perfect after that. Dante still had days where the shadows of his past crept in. I still had moments of doubt, of fear that this dream would shatter. But we worked through it. Together. Always together. He adopted Lily officially. She became Lily Salvatore, and the pride in his eyes when the papers were signed made my heart swell. She called him Papa now, unselfconsciously, like he'd always been there. We had another child 2 years later, a son we named Marco, after the guard who'd been there that first night and had become Dante's closest friend. Then a daughter 3 years after that, Grace, who had Dante's eyes and my stubborn streak. I still worked as a nurse, though at a private practice now. One Dante bought and gifted to me as an anniversary present. Your own clinic, he'd said, where you can care for people who can't afford care elsewhere. Your dream, yes? It was, and he'd made it real. On our 5th anniversary, we stood in that same backyard where he'd proposed. The kids were inside with Mrs. Chen, who'd moved into our guest house and become the grandmother they all adored. It was dusk again, fireflies beginning their dance. Remember that elevator? Dante asked, his arms around me from behind. Every day. I leaned back against his chest. Best elevator malfunction of my life. I used to think I was protecting you that night. His voice was soft, contemplative. But really, you saved me. You and Lily. You gave me a reason to be better, to build something worth passing to our children. We saved each other, I corrected. That's what love does. A firefly landed on my hand, its light pulsing gentle and sure. I watched it for a moment, then let it fly free, up into the darkening sky, joining its companions in their eternal dance. Make a wish, Dante murmured. I closed my eyes, but I had nothing to wish for. Everything I wanted, everything I needed, was already here, in this moment, in this man, in this life we'd built from chance and courage and choosing each other every single day. I don't need wishes anymore, I whispered. I have everything. His arms tightened around me. So do I, amore mio. So do I. And in the gathering darkness, surrounded by fireflies and love, and the laughter of our children drifting from inside, I knew it was true. This was my fairy tale. Not perfect, not without scars, but real, mine, ours, and I wouldn't change a single moment of it.